Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to the Final Word, the Monday edition of the Final Word with MattyB here on the old It's a Rap Sports Network, and it's a pleasure to be back with you on another gripping Philadelphia sports night. That's right. Tonight on the program, the Eagles are in the news again. Getting tired of saying that, but there is the news because the Eagles made a signing today. 24-year-old, what's his name? Azeez Ojulari. I'm sure I ain't saying that right. Formerly of the New York Giants, today agreed to a 1-year, $4 million contract. Edge rusher, strong side linebacker, defensive lineman, whatever you want to call him. He's probably going to be the new Josh Sweat or possibly part of that new Josh Sweat rotation. I don't know if obviously this is going along with the theme of the offseason. So we're going to get into the new signing. We'll continue the rant about whether or not these are the right decisions and the right moves for a defending Super Bowl champion to be making. We'll get into that. The Phillies today announced their starting pitcher for the 2025 season, Zach Wheeler. That's no secret. It's not like I'm trying to keep it from you. That Zach Wheeler will be the starter, his second straight year of starting the opening the season. Flyers are in action tonight against Tampa Bay Lightning. And of the night segment, card review, all the great things we do this day in Philly sports history, all those awesome things we do here on the network, we will do tonight. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody of the scroll that's whipping. It's not really whipping by, but it's moving by at the bottom of the screen. Please like and subscribe on all of our social media platforms and our YouTube platform specifically, as we could really use the help, as we are a growing fledgling network that needs all the help we can get. And tonight on this network, we got a busy night. Typically at the 7 o'clock hour, you would have seen the wraparound with Sal G. Well, Sal is not doing the show tonight. He's going to have a guest host who couldn't do it till later. So the wraparound would be coming at you at 10:30, I think, or 10:30. 10. It's 10 or 10:30. Right after the Clear the Ice program. Right after the Flyers post game, we will have the wraparound with Sal G with a special secret guest host. I'm not going to reveal who that is. So make sure you're. I'm kind of leading off on the network tonight. So make sure you stick around for all the greatness that's coming over the next few hours, as we continue to be your only nighttime destination in the podcasting Philadelphia sports world. That's right. This is it. If it's after 8 o'clock at night and you want to talk Philly sports, then you know where to go. Come here, and we will talk it all night long. So, Al Zafiri checking in, says Secret Squirrel. Yeah, and it was supposed to be you, but you bailed on me for some lame-o reason. That's all right. We'll talk later. No, Al was going to do it, but he had something else come up. So I got to fill in for the fill-in tonight. So, but it's an equally good host, and he'll do the best he possibly can, as he does all the time when he gets on the air. So we're really looking forward to that. And of course, this network is brought to you by the great folks here. Again, we're growing by the day. We got 2 new shows coming to the network over the next 2 months. Really looking forward to that. More about that later. So let's get it going. Let's strap in. Let's strap on. Let's strap in. Let's strap in. Let's strap on. Put your head, feet, and arms inside the car at all times, and let this thing get rolling here, as we do every night on the program with the Your Day in Philadelphia Sports History. On this day, St. Patrick's Day, and that's, of course, the motif and theme of the show tonight, because it is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all you Irish folk out there. I am not Irish. So I'm going to get into I'm going to talk about that here in a second too. But on this day back in 95, it was an unlucky St. Patrick's Day for your Villanova Wildcats, kind of, on the heels of the NCAA tournament, selections yesterday. That back in 95, matter of fact, when I was researching this, I saw that it was a Villanova fact. And obviously with Nova kind of falling on some hard times over the last 3 or 4 seasons, after some dominating runs in the tens, I really miss, I ain't gonna lie, I have not watched 1 second of college basketball in probably 4 years. Not just this year, but over the last 4 years. Just can't get it. I can't get into it. And it does not help when the local teams stink, and especially Villanova. I'm a Villanova basketball fan. I've always been growing up. I always shied away from Temple Yeah, you get into the whole Nova's not a Philly school thing if you want. But right now, if you look around, going Big Five at least, tell me another Big Five school that's got as much success in the NCAA basketball world in Villanova, and I'll listen. But right now, until somebody else proves otherwise in the Big Five, Villanova is it because of the success they've had. But they've fallen on hard times, and so is the Big Five. Man, remember when the Big Five was like nationally like a powerhouse? I honestly thought at one time the Big Five should be its own conference. I really did. I really thought they should have been their own conference at one point. That's how strong they were. But thankfully they didn't do that because it would have been one of the most god awful conferences in the world if they would have done that. But there was a time back in the 80s when I was growing up that the Big Five was so strong, and I mean throughout the whole 7 of them. I think there was 7 in the Big Five back then. But throughout the whole thing were strong teams, to include Pennsylvania, University of Penn. You know, they were actually strong. And I thought they should have made their own conference, honestly. But they didn't, thankfully. But on this day in 95, Nova, after getting the number 3 seed, after being into the number 3 seed in what was in they actually beat UConn on this day in 95. Not on this day, but a couple days earlier, they beat UConn to win the Big East tournament, which got them the number 3 seed in their bracket in the NCAAs. But on this day, they opened up their NCAA tournament with a loss, 89-81 in triple overtime to number 14 Old Dominion. So not a good way to get your tournament started, and definitely as much success as Nova has brought throughout NCAA basketball, they've also had a lot of heartache along the way. And on this night was one of those in 95, dropping the opening game of the NCAA tournament, the number 14 seeded Old Dominion. Old Dominion, don't even know what they are. They're from Virginia, correct? But they lost on this day to Old Dominion. So there you go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. Nova loses in the first round of the 95 NCAA tournament to Old friggin' Dominion. Mike, how you doing, man? Mike, catch Mike a little bit later on the Clear the Ice program. Strap on, that's a relationship subject. Yeah. Get your head out the damn gutter. Now we're gonna have children's hour. Okay, that's good. We're gonna have children's hour. And Al says Nova is Delco. Yeah, well, I mean they are, right? They're in Delaware County. I agree. But name me any school. Can Temple boast basketball? Can they go head to head with Nova in basketball? Even at their so if you look at Temple and Nova in their prime, whatever you consider the prime era for Temple, I maybe mid 80s. You know, who was that guard they had? I want to say Paul Palmer, but it wasn't. He was the football player. Who was the guard that played for Temple back in the day? Probably that Dwayne Coswell, those years, you know, John Chaney, Mike, was it Mike Verbeek? The guy who shot the ball, took two-handed jump shots. You know, those days, man, those were the days that I remember Temple being the hell was that kid's name? The point guard. I'll look it up, but there you go. Thanks a lot, Mike Laro. Mark Macon. There you go. Good job, Mike. So the Mark Macon, Dwayne Coswell, Mike Verbeek days. That's what I'm talking about, man. You know, if you take those Temple years, they still don't match up with some of the Nova teams. I think every Nova team that's, 3 national championships that they had, each one of those teams were better than Temple was ever. So you want to call Nova from Delco all you want, that's fine, but they still control Big Five basketball in Philadelphia. I mean, that's just the way it is. But yeah, I was a big fan of the Big Five being its own conference at one point. I really was, but thank God they didn't do that. So that was your day in Philadelphia sports history. Villanova getting upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament in 95 to the Old Dominions, Dominoes, whatever they are. All right, let's get on to our topic of conversation. What? Actually, Nova is half Delco, half mainline. So what county does the mainline fall in? Is it mainline? Mainline falls in Philadelphia County, right? Isn't that mainline is in Philadelphia County? Technically, right? let's get into the St. Patrick's Day part of the show, right? St. Patrick's Day, a day that growing up in Philadelphia, keeping on with the Philadelphia thing, growing up in Philadelphia, St. Patrick's Day, even though if you weren't Irish, was always celebrated. Was always celebrated by everybody, regardless if you were Polish, Italian, Jewish, whatever. Everybody celebrated St. Patrick's Day in their own way. And I know through most of the some households, because I know some real Italian people growing up, where, that whole war between the Italian and the Irish and all that nonsense. But still, even the most staunchest Italian people I've known growing up celebrated St. Patrick's Day in some way, either by eating corned beef or cabbage, dressing up their kids in green for school that day, whatever. It was always one of those universal holidays celebrated by all. Now, call it commercialized, absolutely. Call it a I guess commercialized would be the best way. Money grab, the whole leprechaun thing and what have you. But I'm still a big fan of St. Patrick's Day for one reason and one reason only, and that's Irish potatoes. Now, for those of you out there, I'm not talking about baked potatoes or salt potatoes. I am talking about the cinnamon, coconut, cream cheese morsels that I was served as a kid in the local candy shops around my house. These things are heaven. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I suggest you go ahead and research the recipe. You can make them on your own, but they are the best dessert going. My wife, who's Irish, to the bone Irish, I mean, purebred to include with the elbow thing too, the whole 9 yards when it comes to Irish. I had never had Irish potatoes before I met her, but she's not from Philly. So I turned her on to Irish potatoes, and she was like, just blown away. Matter of fact, I remember the year that we started dating. I told her about Irish potatoes, and she went and Googled it, and she doubled the batch, and she made it in her KitchenAid. If you ever had Irish potatoes, they're kind of dense. I mean, they're really heavy, and she doubled the batch in her KitchenAid, and it shorted out the KitchenAid. That's how much stuff she was trying to whip around, but. Irish potatoes are amazing delicacy, and I guess you would thank the Philadelphia Irish for that, because I don't think it's like an Irish. I think it's a Philly thing more than anything else. So I thank the Philadelphia Irish people for the invention of Irish potatoes. So if you haven't had an Irish potato yet, I'm sure they're still available in the stores. You probably can get them tomorrow if you go out there. I know there's not necessarily local candy stores anymore, but go ahead and try to find yourself some Irish potatoes, man, because they were the bomb. They were the bomb. Macon was great, but Kerry Kittles and Jason Lawson were better. Yeah. I didn't think Kerry Kittles was better than Mark Macon. Not at all. Yes, Philadelphia County. Yeah, I thought Main Line was in Philadelphia County. And Mike's saying, no, Monco. All right, what is it? Is it Philadelphia County or Montgomery County? Or is it all three? I'm completely Italian, and my mother loves it. See, there you go. Now, Al, settle a conspiracy theory for me, because I am married to a completely Irish woman who's got a completely Irish family, complete with the Irish white children, the whitest white people I've ever met in my life. There's a competition here where we live between the Irish and the Italian, and the Irish with St. Patrick's Day and the Italians with the Feast of St. Joseph's. Now, I've never heard of the Feast of St. Joseph's until I came to this area and started dating her. Is this like a made up thing? I don't know if you know about this Feast of St. Joseph thing. It's the Italian St. Patrick's Day, so to speak. Is this made up to kind of offset St. Patrick's Day? Is this a Irish versus Italian, holiday to make it up? But I never heard of it before I came up to this area. So, I want to know if you know anything about that. Irish potatoes is a Philly thing. My mom makes both kinds. Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they? They are a Philly thing. They are a Philly thing. And that's, again, when I told my wife about them when we were first dating, she was like, well, she thought I was talking about potatoes. I'm like, no, they're a dessert. And I explained what they were. It's cream cheese, coconut, which I hate coconut, but in Irish potatoes, it works. I think it's like vanilla, cream cheese, coconut, and then cinnamon. You roll the ball, and then you roll it around in cinnamon. It looks like a potato, and that's how you get potatoes. So, so yeah, the Mayor Mayfair. That's right, Pat Bernard in the house. The Italians had both Feast of St. Joseph's and Columbus Day. It's real. So is the Feast of St. Joseph's Day? Because they celebrate it here like tomorrow or the 19th, like right after St. Patrick's Day. It's like right behind it. I mean, is that the made up part? Is it like in Columbus Day? Is it in October? I mean, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it, man. Al says he doesn't like the coconut ones. Yeah, I've never had the pure cream cheese ones. That sounds like that would work for me. Maybe I should give those a try. But I don't hate coconut, but I could live without it. But Irish potatoes are the way to go. If you've never had one, Google them. Attempt to make them on your own, but be careful. They've been known to short out kitchen appliances, but go ahead and try to make your own. If not, go ahead and buy. You probably can order them online somewhere, but they are definitely a delicacy for the mind, the eye, and the stomach. So happy St. Patrick's Day to all. I did have some corned beef and cabbage on Saturday at my mother-in-law's house. She makes an amazing corned beef and cabbage. Again, Irish. So, but that's my one done with corned beef and cabbage for the year. I won't eat it again. We don't have anything like that in the Polish heritage. We don't have like a day. Yeah, it's a really boring race that I come from. But yeah. So happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. And for those of you that celebrate the Feast of St. Joseph, like in 2 days, happy Feast of St. Joseph's as well. We don't celebrate that, though. We don't have like a commercial thing. There's not like a little leprechaun that runs around or a little Goomba that runs around, with the shirt open and the gold chains and the hairy chest. I mean, there's no little mascot for the Feast of St. Joseph's. I mean, maybe we should create one to try to compete with the leprechaun. I don't know. Just saying. I don't see why one holiday has something and the other holiday doesn't. But yeah, maybe we should try to do one, market it. The Feast of St. Joseph celebrated annual on March 19th. See, I told you it was in like 2 days. Has been the principal feast day of the St. Joseph of the Western Christianity since the 10th century. Observance becoming customary in 1479. So I don't think Al typed that verbatim. I think he copied and pasted that. If not, he's wasting his time doing what he's doing for a living. But there you go. There's the book definition of what the Feast of St. Joseph Day. Throwing around those stereotypes. I'm not throwing stereotypes around. I'm just saying the leprechaun, is that a stereotype of the Irish people? I mean, shouldn't the Feast of St. Joseph have their own little Italian like mascot running around? Maybe like a little Tony Soprano. I don't know, just somebody like that. It's not a stereotype. I'm just saying like a little mascot. Hell yeah, I did. All right. Enough of the nonsense about Feast of St. Joseph's and St. Patrick's Day. But for those of you out there celebrating, happy St. Patrick's Day. And I'm sorry that's on a Monday. I know you want it on a Friday or Saturday, but you got to deal with it. Let's get on with the show tonight. Eagles are in the news. Azeez Ojulari. Let's go with that. Is that how you say the name? The former linebacker / edge rusher / defensive lineman of the New York Giants today signed a 1-year, $4 million contract with the Birds. 24-year-old who will turn 25 in June. 1 year, $4 million. He's an effective situational pass rusher. What that is that another way of saying he's a is that one way of saying he's a rotational player? His best season was his rookie year where he had 8 sacks, but he's had some injury problems. He was drafted in 21, second-round pick, has only played 11 games, has not played more than 11 games over the last 3 seasons, played 17 games his rookie year, and then has not played more than 11 games since then due to some injury concerns. He was a second-round pick the year he was drafted in 21. Now, the question I have immediately I go to as soon as the Eagles pick up a player like this, and of course, as soon as they sign him, I'm hearing how it's the greatest. Howie Roseman cultivating diamonds from the mine again. It goes right to that. But the question I have for Eagle fans out there is, if this guy was so bomb diggity, what the hell is he doing sitting on the street 8-9 days after free agency starts? Right? Why wasn't he scooped up? And why did he only get a 1-year, $4 million deal if he's such a find? Or is he, one of the many projects that the Eagles are taking on in depth pieces in 2025? I think the answer is the latter. I don't know if he grades out potentially to be an every down type of guy. I think he's going to be obviously the new Josh Sweat as he rotates in. Is it Nolan Smith and now Azeez Ojulari Is that the rotation now? Is that how they're going to do it? They have him listed as a strong side linebacker, but he's more, I guess, more of an edge rusher. So the question I have, and I'm going to continue to ask this question throughout the offseason, are these the kind of moves that the defending Super Bowl champions should be making? Are these the right moves that the defending, and again, I hope you understand the emphasis on the word defending Super Bowl champions, because this is not the Carolina Panthers. This is not the, it's not the Detroit Lions. This is the defending champs. The Eagles are attempting to do something that no other Eagle team has done in history. Go back to back, start a dynasty. Is this the recipe for doing that? Or is this another example of the chickens coming home to roost for Howie Roseman in 2025 when it came to deferring money and kicking money down the road? And it just happens to be on the back end of a Super Bowl championship, as luck would have it. And I think luck is an important word to understand here. Is this the type of move that Howie Roseman and the defending Super Bowl champions should be making? Another project player that is being now hailed as the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though he sat around on free agency for about 8 or 9 days and he can only get a 1-year, $4 million deal. If he was so goddamn good, why wasn't he gone day one or during the legal tampering period? He's a project player that has injury problems. He's a rotational guy that obviously cannot play every down. Now, does he have a place here? Absolutely does. That's the type of scheme the Eagles run. They rotate people in left and right. And the question I asked last week, I'm going to go back to asking this too again. Are the Eagles smelling themselves a little bit when it comes to this scheme? There's an age-old debate in football, in all of sports, really. Is it player or is it scheme? Many coaches have gotten fired and have gone down in flames because they thought the scheme was more important than the player. And then I've seen it reverse as well. Are the Eagles smelling themselves thinking that their scheme trumps the player and that they're going for, again, scheme versus talent and athletic ability? I think athletic ability still is the overarching thing here, right? Now, he fits the mold of the player that the Eagles are expecting to be signing the rest of the way through this offseason. He's a former Georgia Bulldog, so duh, he belongs here. He's 24. He's young. He's going to play another, it's another prove-it type of contract, a kind of Becton type deal. Now, do we find ourselves in a position at the end of next season wondering, do we got to sign Ojari now to a 20-year contract because he had an all-pro season? I mean, are these the right moves that this guy should be making? I'm just really curious that these are the right moves for the defending Super Bowl champs. And it's a question that I'm going to ask throughout the rest of the offseason, honestly. All teams that define bargain deals and 1-year deals to compete. Ask teams like the Bengals and the Chiefs, both 2017 and this year had a lot of earned deals. Listen, Al, I understand what you're saying, but are you telling me also that the money that was spent in a Saquon Barkley extension could not have been used to potentially keep Josh Sweat here, or potentially keep Becton here, or potentially kept to keep somebody else here? I get what you're saying, but it goes across the board. Why was Saquon Barkley given a contract extension when he still had 2 years left on his deal? Right. I get it. They out of all the coveted free agents that the Eagles had, and then they ended up trading some players too, but all the coveted free agents the Eagles had, they re-signed one. And I'm not saying it was the wrong pick or the wrong guy. I'm just saying, are these the moves, again, that the defending Super Bowl champions are supposed to be making? And I mean across the board. I don't necessarily mean in free agency. Was the Saquon Barkley contract extension the right deal to make at the right time, at this time? That goes into this, right? So yeah. So the Eagles are at it, and they're trying to add some rotation or some depth. Again, trying to replenish that depth that they lost. And again, you guys remember this slide? We did this yesterday. This is like something you should put on the back of a milk carton. Let's do that. Let's put this in the back of a milk carton. Missing. Have not been seen in Philadelphia since 1 March. All right. Look at those faces. Look at those 6 beautiful faces. That's a Super Bowl championship right there, folks. Absolutely 100%. 6 players in their own way led themselves to winning this Super Bowl. Now, of the 6 players that we lost here, I'm going to eventually put the 6 people that replace them once we get to 6. And I'm going to see if those faces actually match up. But are these the moves that the defending Super Bowl champions should be making? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. Young guy with great upside from a team who can't cultivate talents. Young guy with great upside from a team who cannot cultivate talent. So you're blaming the Giants on his failures? You're not blaming the injuries? Have you ever watched this guy's tape? I mean, if you look at him, he's had a lot of lower body stuff, right? He's very stiff. He's one of those types of players that almost gets there, almost makes the play. He's like a half step behind or half a second behind. It's kind of stiff, and his lower body's kind of stiff. It's from the injuries, Al. It's has nothing to do with cultivating talent. I think the Giants did well. I mean, his rookie season, before the injuries set in, he had 8 sacks. But he's been hurt throughout the rest of his career. So that's got nothing to do with, I think, cultivating talent. I think it has everything to do with a bargain basement player and on a prove-it deal. Again, I understand what's going on, but the question remains, is this the type of contracts and these are the kind of players the Eagles need to be signing right now as we're trying to win a second straight Super Bowl? And honestly, the answers to those questions will not be made until the end of until the season and the draft and all that as we get closer to that. But the Eagles going and doing their work, man. Azeez Ojulari, the newest Eagle, 1 year, $4 million, the off-injured rotational guy with some upside and potential joining the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see how that works out for them. Sounds like Saquon, great rookie year, then lower body injuries added up. Yeah, absolutely. It does. It does. Lane Johnson reworked his contract to add $8 million over the next 2 years, an additional $30 million in guarantees. So, starting now, like, does that cap count towards 2025 or 2026? I think again, the common theme has been all off season. The Eagles are not going for the big names. They're happy with what they have internally. They like what they have internally, and they want to grow that, and they want to make that better. And I, as I said from the day one of this, I'm not talking about. I'm not concerned, or I'm not saying that the plan is bad. I'm not saying the plan is bad. I'm not saying the plan is good. I'm glad he has a plan. Right. And its concept, I like the plan. I like growing from within. I've been shouting for that for years. You got to grow through the draft. Right. But things kind of took a different turn when they won a Super Bowl. Now, does that not change things for an organization when you win a Super Bowl? Does that not force your hand? And everyone's going to go back to the 2017 Eagles about, how they kind of decided to run it right back. But that's a whole different type of team. Different type of players. But does winning a Super Bowl change what you want to do as an organization from year to year? I would say it does, right? Because you've obviously got the secret sauce once you win a Super Bowl. You got something that worked. Whether or not it was because Saquon Barkley rushed for 25,000 yards and the defense was all world, whatever the case is, you got something that you try to keep around. And losing 5 starters off the defense and replacing them with a up-and-coming group of players who are not proven, Jelix Hunt, Jeremiah Trotter, Keely Ringo, Sidney Brown, the list goes on. And now you add Azeez Ojulari into that mix. I mean, it's a little, it's risky. It's very risky. Is it high risk? It's high risk, high reward. Is that what we're looking at here for the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles? Are certain other aspects of this team going to have to pick it up? Is this season going to be what we all thought last season was? Remember that? Remember a long time ago we talked about going into the 2024 season, how the offense was this other world beast of a unit that could put 58 points up on anybody. And it was the defense that we were like, there's some moving pieces here that might work, and they're going to give up points. I don't know about Fangio. Who the hell's Zach Bond? A little concerned. And then it took the defense about 4 games to kind of like figure it out. And remember, going into the bye, they were the 28th ranked defense in the league. And then some say because they inserted Cooper DeJean into the starting rotation that it all changed, and that very might have well been it. But there was other stuff happening too. But are we now going to see that team in 2025? And the next question, if the answer you think is yes, is the offense capable of stepping it up? Because let's face it, the offense kind of rode in the passenger seat in 2024. I mean, Saquon, yes, and the defense, but the rest of the offense kind of took a back seat to what was happening. Now, if you want to add the offensive line in for Saquon, that's great, but you know my point. And you know who I'm talking about specifically. Does number one have it in him to step up and be that elite quarterback? Because that might be what we need him to be in 2025. He might need to throw the football to the middle of the field more than 48 times in an entire season. And is he capable of that? And does it change the dynamic of this team back into a more passing offense? A lot of repercussions with this new defense, a lot of potential repercussions, potential issues, landmines lurking down the road for the Eagles. Can they can they run the football as much as they did in 2024 if the defense is not as prolific as 2024? Because they'll find themselves down in some games more, and they may have to battle their way back through the air. And let's not forget this little nugget of 2025. Remember this? That's right. Here's the schedule. I think we keep on forgetting about this thing. I haven't. Look at that road schedule. Talk about a gauntlet. And it's going to be probably Kansas City, Buffalo, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Tampa back to back to back to back. It's going to be something like that. They're going to do that. Right? Have we forgotten about that? I mean, that is a beast, that schedule. And the home schedule is, it ain't really. You got Detroit. I think you got a really sneaky good Bronco team coming here, and you got the Rams. So other than that, it's pretty squeaky if you want to count in the Commanders there. But it's a pretty squeaky home schedule. But that road schedule is a beast, man. It's a friggin' beast. And is the Eagle offense, if they have to be, can they go toe-to-toe with a Josh Allen? Can they go toe-to-toe with a Pat Mahomes again? Right? So a lot of risk for the Philadelphia Eagles heading into the 2025 season, a season which they're supposed to be defending a Super Bowl championship. I think a more balanced offense. Is that capable, though? Is that possible? Kevin Patullo, what's his name? Patullo? What's his playbook? Is he is he just going to erase Nick Sirianni's name off the playbook and write his? Is that the playbook we're going to be running? Is it the same thing that we ran last year? Because if it's the same playbook, does that factor in too? Somebody is going to figure out how to stop Saquon Barkley. Somebody is going to figure out what the secret sauce is to stop him. And I think it's already been done. I think the Chiefs already provided that answer. And now it's just a matter of teams kind of executing. And what was the thing that if you guys have watched the Super Bowl again, look at the way the Chiefs attacked Saquon. There was no hesitation. They just were barreling through. They didn't care. They went right at him. They didn't allow Saquon to make that move. They just went right at him. They were coming at him full speed. And that was the first time I saw anybody really trying to tackle him like that in 2024. And that might be what the secret is to stopping Saquon Barkley once he gets out in space. You don't let him make a move. You just go at him. And if he does make a move and he shimmies by you, so be it. But you just go at him, and maybe you picked right. I don't know. But someone's going to find a way to stop Saquon. Can the offense step it up and be that more balanced attack? Can Jalen Hurts throw the football 25 times a game successfully without interceptions? He hasn't up to this point with the type of offense they've had What makes you think he can do it now? A.J. Dillon will allow them to run, but not over Barkley. A.J. Dillon, and that's assuming A.J. Dillon makes the team. Everyone has a plan. They go hit in the face. A.J. Million will help the running game if he makes the team. Don't forget, A.J. Million, Dillon, why are you calling him A.J. Million? A.J. Dillon hasn't played a football game since 2023. So let's see. Let's see how that works. Paulo. Huh? Patullo. It's Patullo, isn't it? Like Patullo? The Chiefs did it, and they lost the game big time. Why? Why did they lose the game big time? They lost the game big time because the defense flipped the field on the Chiefs. our offensive two top wide receivers and a really tight end with a dominant O-line. Yes. So the why is the passing attack not more prolific than it is? Right? Do you have faith and confidence in Jalen Hurts to lead the team down the field in a 2-minute warning at the end of a game? I don't. I don't think he's ever done that. Or once, maybe. Mike says autocorrect. AJ, I like AJ Million. Let's call him that. AJ Million. So the Eagles are making moves, but are they the right moves? Are they the moves that teams that are defending Super Bowl champions should be making? Time will tell about that question. So let's move on. Let's move on before Al starts homering all over the place. And their defense couldn't stop our quarterback and wide receivers. I have faith in Jalen. Absolutely. Again, the field was flipped most of the game because of the excellent play of the defense and the how many 14 points off the turnovers. Come on, Al. Let's. Why are we giving more credit than credit is to be given? And you could probably ask me the same question. Why am I not giving enough credit? But you know, I guess we all have our narratives. But they are doing what they should have done in 2018. Al's saying they should have done what they should have done in 2018. Well, they didn't have the infrastructure allegedly in 2018 to do this, right? The team was pretty much comprised of a bunch of mercenaries. There was no infrastructure to fall back on. What, Corey Clement? Obviously, they tried that and it didn't work. I mean, who were the young players in 2018? Derek Barnett? That didn't work. I mean, he wasn't good enough, right? They needed to stay with those older players because there was nothing in the cupboard, so to speak, whereas they allegedly think there's something in the cupboard this year. So I get it. I understand. But time will tell. Time will tell. Let's transition now off to the Philadelphia Phillies because we're 10 days away. Woohoo! 10 days away from opening day. And the Phillies today have named their starter, Zach Wheeler. Will get the nod for the second straight year. Obviously, Aaron Nola used to be the guy, but then Wheeler has pretty much supplanted him as the ace of the staff. Not only the staff, man. I mean, Zach Wheeler's like the ace of the league. I mean, is he like, if you were putting together your top rotation of all of baseball right now, both the American League and National League, does Zach Wheeler make that rotation? I think he does. He made my all-time Phillies rotation, and that's going back through the whole entire history of the team. I put him as my fifth starter of my all-time Phillies team. So that's how good this guy is, and that's how locked down as he's been. So definitely gets the honor and the nod to be the starter. And the projected rotation, I'm understanding this is interesting because I get where they're coming from, but some of the people are thinking that the projected rotation for the Phillies this year is going to be Wheeler, Luzardo, Nola, Sanchez, and Suarez. So, you know, going left or going right, left, I guess, moving the Nola down into that third spot and putting Luzardo up at 2. Interesting. Is that a slap in the face to Aaron Nola? You know, because forever he's been considered the 1B. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter, right? Or does it? Do baseball pitchers have that? Like, do they? Hey, I'm the number 2. You know, I'm the ace. I mean, is that something they walk around the locker room? If you're the fifth starter rotation, are you like considered the ninth hitting hole, the ninth guy in the hole? I mean, is that a thing? I don't know. I've never really asked that question. But that's someone's projected starting rotation. But Wheeler will get the nod to start the season. And he'll be opposed by Mackenzie Gore of the Washington Nationals on the 27th of March. And that is when Phillies baseball will return. But don't forget, here on this network, the It's a Wrap Sports Network on the 23rd at 11 a.m. We got you for the Fighting's Final 2025 Phillies season preview episode at 11 a.m. on Sunday. If you want to come and talk about some Phillies and what you think the Phillies are going to be in 2025, then that is the place to be. Myself, Sal will be there, Mike Lara will be there, and a couple others will be there as we will get ready to kick off the 2025 Philly season. So make sure you're there, 11 a.m. on Sunday. And then for those of you that are really jonesing, I don't have it on here. Why don't I have it on here? But I don't. We do have ourselves a series. Our first series of the Fighting's Finals already set up. Me and Sal will have you on Thursday. Mike will have you on Saturday, and I will finish you up on Sunday against the Nationals on the 29th. So, well, I'm sorry, the 30th. So we are full speed ahead when it comes to the baseball team here. And last question about the Phillies, and we're going to move on to the other night segment, is this. Out of all the storylines that have come out of the spring, and there's been a few, Andrew Painter obviously not throwing at all has been a storyline. And, of course, the projected time of him is late July. Mick Abel pitched a couple days ago, very lackluster, an inning and a half, and he gave up 3 runs. So not really high up there. But the Racones, the Crawfords, the Millers, the Taits, the Buckhalters, the Dissons, the Saltabons, all the players that we've heard, all these names, all these prospect names. If there was one player out of all those names, and to include Painter, and I'll accept that, who would you put on the opening day rotation, on the opening day lineup, pitcher or infielder, outfielder, whatever? If there was one player, if you had to put one of them, like it was mandatory that you took one of those prospects and put them on the opening day roster, which one would that be and why? And I'm going to give you mine first. It's got to be J.P. Crawford. And it's got to be that for, not J.P. Crawford, Justin Crawford. Jesus Christ, Justin Crawford. It's got to be Crawford because of the problems that we're going to have. Because our outfield, this is an interesting outfield, by the way. It's going to be Kepler in left. It's going to be Marsh in center. And it's going to be Castellanos in right. They've already announced that pretty much. Even though Kepler and Castellanos got dinged up on Sunday, that is going to be the starting lineup, lefty or righty. So they're telling Marsh, you better figure it out, man. You're batting against left-handed pitching, which I don't know how it's going to work. And I don't know what that's going to look like. And I guess that solidifies Marsh down there in the 8 or 9 spot in the lineup as well. But I just don't like the way the outfield is right now. I don't like the task organization of the outfield. I don't like it. And I think Crawford would be a safety net. I think Crawford would be a player that when Marsh, it's not if Marsh struggles, but more like when he struggles, I would much prefer going to him rather than Rojas, which of course I think Rojas is going to be up with the team. So if I had to pull one of the prospect players and there was no way of getting around it, it would have to be Crawford to make the opening day roster, because I think he is eventually going to be in center field this year. It's just a matter of when they do it. But if I had to make a move now, it would be with Crawford right off the bat. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about that, and how you would go in that, what direction you would go. 40 points with keeping Saquon under wraps, not a fluke. No, it's not a fluke. It was the defense. I mean, I can't make a believer out of you, Al. Trust me, I've tried for years. I can't make a believer out of you. If you're going to look and poo-poo what the defense did in that game, and you're going to really give Jalen Hurts the yeoman's amount of credit for that, I don't know I don't know what I can tell you, man. We were watching 2 different games, because without the constant flip field, Jalen Hurts doesn't put up 40 points. It was the defense that allowed Jalen Hurts to put up 40 points. Simply put. And that's why losing 5 starters off the defense, to me, is ridiculous in the offseason. So I have absolutely no confidence in Jalen Hurts, and you have probably too much confidence. I don't know. Maybe we need to find a happy medium. But if you're going to sit here and try to tell me that the 40 points that the Eagles put up on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl was because of Jalen Hurts and his offense, then we're watching 2 different football games, man. I am a homer. Am I a homer for not being down the Phillies? No, you're not. You're not. Delusional, maybe. I'm not. Listen, I'm not down on the Phillies. I'm skeptical, right? And all the projections and all the little trackers you see, they got the number 2 lineup in the league. They got the number 2 rotation. They're 4 in the power rankings. They're the second best team in the National League. I mean, everybody has them. All the experts have them up to the top. There's something there, obviously, right? We've seen it. And on paper, they're a damn good team, but we already know it's not about winning on paper. And you said it yourself. It's 162 games. It's not something that that you win in April, right? You can't win it in April, but you can sure how's lose it in April. My little rule here with the Phillies in April has always been 500 or better and healthy, right? That's how I like to start May. And then May, you kind of start putting some momentum together. And then June, boom, you hit it. So, and we're going to get to that on our preview episode because I'm interested to know what people are looking for in terms of the Phillies in terms of a start. We've seen it both ways now. We've seen a hot start and a cold finish. We've seen a cold start and a hot finish. What is everyone looking for in 2025? And that'll be something we talk about on the preview show. But no, I'm not saying you're a homer for not being down on them. I'm not. May I join you on the 30th? 30th of, whatever, man. You're more than welcome to join me on the 30th. Youth is exciting. Yes, it is. And Crawford. So yours is Crawford as well. Yeah, I think Crawford would be my best bet too. Poo-pooed the defense. They're a huge part. It wasn't like the offense did nothing. Defense flips the field and the offense puts 7 on the board. That's perfectly. Yeah, but you're making it sound like somehow Jalen Hurts coordinated and through his mystical aerial ability was able to orchestrate these drives down the field, chewing up time and energy and masterful, leadership. No, man, the defense put them in a position to win the game. So there's 2 different things that I'm thinking you're saying here. I'll go back to my beginning. I said this at the end of the Super Bowl, or I've said this since the Super Bowl ended. Out of the 3 main contributing parts of the Eagles in 2024, the defense, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts. Let's call them the 3 most significant parts that led them to a Super Bowl championship. If you had to take away one of those factors, which one would you take away and still feel confident that the Eagles win the Super Bowl? And if you search your feelings, you know which one you would take away. I mean, if you take away the defense, I don't feel confident that they win the Super Bowl. You take away Saquon Barkley, I sure as hell don't feel confident they win the Super Bowl. Take away Jalen Hurts, I still think they win the Super Bowl. And again, I think if you think about it that way, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. So back onto the Phillies as we'll get ready to start the season. And we got you covered here on the Fighting's Final. At the end of tonight's Flyer Maple Leaf game, they're not playing the Maple Leafs, Flyers Lightning game, we got the Clear the Ice program with Mike Laro, who was trolling around the chat earlier. I haven't seen him there, but here's the pretty little graphic. Mike will get you tonight. Thursday is Sal. Saturday is Mike as well, as we are wrapping up the Clear the Ice program here on the network for the year. March 31st will be the final episode of the Clear the Ice show for this season. Me and Mike will be on the call, post-game Predators on the 31st, as we will wrap up the season for the Clear the Ice program. Until next year, we will be back, and we'll be back in the summer doing a Flyers review and looking at the draft and free agency and all that stuff too. We're not giving up on the Flyers permanently. We're giving up on them this year. And I think we're okay to do that. I think we're justified in that, man. But yeah. And I think all 3 parts were major parts. Spoken like a true homer. Spoken like a true homer. Because you know the answer to that question. And you know they weren't equal. No. You know that. You know they weren't. All right. Let's get back to the program and let's do some of the night. The of the night segment. Yes, sir. The other night program, or the other night segment here on the program. It's the time of the show where we take a little time and we step back and we reflect upon a potential 2025 NHL draft prospect, a 2025 MLB draft prospect, Phillies spotlight player, Flyers spotlight player, Flyers prospect, or a Phillies prospect player. Seasonally, we just finished Flyers prospect players. We just ran through them all. We finished it last week, so we're not doing Flyers prospects anymore, but we started the Phillies prospect players last night with Mick Abel. So we're going to continue on with Phillies prospects. We're still grinding out the NHL draft. We're still grinding out the MLB draft, and we're still working on the spotlight players of the Phillies. So let's get it going. We're going for the trifecta again tonight, 3 of them. Let's start with our Phillies spotlight, our Phillies spotlight. Bryson Stott, man. 148 games last season, 245 batting average, 11 homers, 57 RBIs, and a putrid 671 OPS. Apparently is being attributed to some injuries that he was suffering in 2024. A major setback season for Bryson Stott on all fronts, with the exception of his defense that was still stellar. Got cheated, if you ask me, out of a Gold Glove last year. He is going to win a Gold Glove one of these years defensively, and I hope it's this year. And I think once he wins that first one, he'll win them. He'll start winning them because he definitely is deserving. One of the best second basemen defensively in this league. But offensively last year, definitely a step back. He needs to figure himself out. Now, did Rob Thompson put him in a bad spot by batting him 5th? It's a question that I will ask until somebody gives me a goddamn answer. What was Bryson Stott doing batting 5th? And I've seen some lineup projections in 2025 that got him batting 6th. What am I not seeing that you people are? And is it more of what Bryson Stott projects to potentially be versus on what he is currently? Because right now, the way he is, and that could be coming off the injury, the way I see Bryson Stott is a typical 8th or 9th man in the lineup offensively. Okay? Does he have potential to bat 6? I think we might have started seeing that a little bit in 2023. I was actually watching a YouTube game the other night. It was the game against the Angels in 2022 where he hits the home run and they came back from the 7-2 deficit. It was the game where it was a 6-2 game and Harper hits the grand slam in the 8th to make it 6-6, and then Stott walks it off in the 9th with a 3-run homer to make it 9-7. It was the game where the kid was praying. Remember that game? And then they caught him praying in the stands, and then remember that game? It was like June. It was right when Rob Thompson took over as manager in early June of 22. It was the Phillies' 4th win in a row after Rob Thompson. It was the beginning of their renaissance in 2022, essentially. But does Bryson Stott have that potential as a 5 or 6 eventually? He may. I mean, there was some injury problems with him last year, and how deep those injuries ran and how much they affected his ability at the plate is unknown. And also, I don't think that the manager, if the manager knew he was hurt, if the manager knew he wasn't 100%, I don't think the manager did enough to shield him in that lineup by putting him in a position to be better. And that might have been putting him down in the lineup. Batting him 5th was a crime against humanity. All right? Not the way he was swinging the bat last year. And until he proves otherwise, I think he belongs in the 8 or 9 hole. But he could project out to be definitely a 6. And that's what I think Phillies fans are wanting him to be. And the Chase Utley comparisons be damned. Thank God we don't hear those anymore. Thank God. But, Bryson Stott holds a huge portion of this season in his hands or in his bat. He does. He is part of this team. He's part of the core. We need more production from Bryson Stott, no matter where he is in the lineup. That OPS needs to be about 100 points higher to be even considered respectable, if you ask me. So, Bryson Stott, huge part of the season. Can he rebound offensively? And does he break through finally defensively? Get the recognition he deserves by winning a Gold Glove. So there you go. There's my Philly spotlight player of the night, Bryson Stott. Al says, I think Bryson is needed. Yeah, I think Bryson is needed to be. Yeah, I think he is too. Paul George is out for the season. No one cares. Nope, no one does care, Al. But thank you for that breaking. With a hand injury with a broken finger? Is that what he's out for the season for? I mean, is there any more of a disgraceful organization in sports right now than the Philadelphia 76ers? They're under investigation for tanking, and I hope the hell they're guilty. I hope the hell they get fined and somebody gets fired. All right, let's continue on with the of the night segment. Let's go into our Phillies prospect, our second Philly prospect of the season on our second night. It's Griffin Buckhalter. All right, Griffin Buckhalter. He's the third baseman, I think. Is he? I got the big thing in the way. Let me get rid of that. Outfielder. The outfielder, currently with the Clearwater Thrashers. Big, physical, and athletic. The Phillies have taken to calling Buckhalter Captain America because he can do everything well. There's a ton of raw power from him and to tap into. But in high school, he didn't always find the barrel consistently. Yeah, he's shown off early attitude by already making the most swing adjustments of anyone in the system, eliminating some length in his swing and fixing some angles, allowing him to barrel up the baseball much more frequently. Big kid, I think like 6'5", 6'6", prototypical looking, country fed, guy. Definitely can see Buckhalter being a corner outfielder probably in the next 3 or 4 years. He's currently going to start the season in high A or low A. Probably will finish the season potentially in double A. We'll see how he does, but I don't expect him to be in Clearwater much longer. I don't even know if actually I'm not even sure if he is going to start the season. He might start it in Lakewood or in Jersey Shore, but about 4 years, I can definitely see him taking over one of those corner outfield spots for the Phillies and being like the 5th or 6th batter in the lineup if he projects and continues to swing the stick that he's swinging. Good looking young prospect for the Phillies, power hitting wise. And it's going to be fun to watch him kind of mature, and it's going to be really fun to watch him in a Phillies lineup if he's not potentially moved at some point this year. And I am concerned about that. I am concerned about the minor league system this year being plucked by Dave Dombrowski in an attempt not to fall short in 2025. I am concerned about that. So there you go. Griffin Buckhalter is my second part of my of the night segment, which leads me to my final part, and that's our NHL draft. Yeah, we haven't done the NHL draft in a minute, so we're going back in with Keyshawn Aitchison, the left-handed defenseman from the Barrie Colts of the Western Hockey League. 6 foot, 191 pounds. He's a powerful, bullish defender who is hard to play against. Defends firmly and commands his ice. He knows who he is and plays with confidence and command, often directing his teammates and always tanking to his teammates and opponents. He's strong on the PK. Let me read that again. He's strong on the PK. He's chippy. He is a willing shot blocker, and he is sign me up, man. If he is available at 17 or 18, I am taking him. I got it. He's a left-handed defenseman. They're a dime a dozen, but I need all those attributes on this hockey team. I need to revamp my defensive core, and it starts with a defensive version of a Travis Konechny that this kid seems to be. I like all those attributes, man. He's strong on the PK. He's chippy, and he's willing to be a shot blocker. Does that not scream a John Tortorella player? And I think he would be available in the lower part or mid part of the first round this year. All these players that we talk about on this show are projected first round picks. But again, that doesn't mean anything on draft night. We saw that happen last year. But if Keyshawn Aitchison is available at 13, 14, 15, or 16, you're damn right I go get him, because he could be definitely something to build around defensively for this team in about 3 years. So I like what he brings to the game. Looks like a John Tortorella player all over the place, and he's got all those attributes that Tortorella likes. And there you have it. The end of our of the night segment with a chippy defender in Keyshawn Aitchison. So hope you guys enjoyed the of the night segment on the program tonight. Nope, they are the worst. Yes, they are. The Sixers are the worst. All right, that's going to take me to my final segment of the night. And remind everybody, before I get to the final segment of the night, tonight, stay tuned. Immediately following this program, or I should say immediately following the Flyers games, Mike Lara will have you for Clear the Ice. And then after Clear the Ice, at 10:30 or at 10, I'm going to say 10. I think it's 10:30. I don't know. It's one of those times. Right after the damn post game. The wraparound Salgy will be seen in its entirety with a special guest host. And I will reveal the special guest host. The Gobbler. Pat Bernard is going to be guest hosting the wraparound with Sal G tonight immediately following the Flyers post-game show. So make sure you're there. Typically, Sal comes on at 7 on Mondays. Sal was not available tonight to do the show, so found a guest host. Actually, I found a guest host who bagged on me, and then I found a replacement for the replacement who Papinard is willing to take the job. He will be on right after the Flyers post game. So I am just starting you off tonight on the network. So no one heard of him. Who, Papinard? So make sure you're tuned in because we're just getting started here. But let's finish up this show with our final segment, my fun segment, the funnest part of the night, my card review.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yeah. This is the card review segment, part of the show where we take one of my very vast sports cards and just kind of kick it around a little bit and have some fun with it. We've been doing this for a while now, and I look forward to it every single night. And tonight we are going back to hockey. Actually, we've been on hockey for a while. I think we were on hockey to finish up last week. We did not do a segment last night because the show ran late, but we're back tonight, and we're going to stay in hockey, and we're going to stay with one of my favorite players growing up. Yes, one of my favorite players, and that's why we're doing this card, because this card is worth absolutely nothing on the open market. It's like a $2 card, but it's a player that I was one of my favorite players growing up. So it goes in the binder of excellence, and it gets talked about on the show. So here we go. The 1990-91 Kurt Muller Topps hockey card. Kurt Muller of the New Jersey Devils. He was a center. It was my favorite player growing up. And I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to explain how that all came to be. But in his career that spanned a lot of years, from 1984 through 2003 was his playing career. Over 1,349 games played, 357 goals, 602 assists for 959 points. Kirk Muller played for the Devils, the Canadiens, the Islanders, the Maple Leafs, the Panthers, and the Stars. Really, and then also did some as coached. He started coaching with the Queen's University Golden Gales. That was his first gig. Then he got a job with the Canadiens as an assistant coach in 2011. Muller was hired by the Milwaukee Admirals, which is the AAA AHL affiliate of the Predators, and then back to the Canadiens in 16. Then he was a temporary head coach for the Canadiens in 2021. He's back with the Canadiens, and then was an assistant coach with Calgary. So he's bounced around a little bit. I don't think currently coaching right now, but he's been behind the bench. He's a hockey guy, and here's the reason why he's my favorite player. For those of you who do not know what it's like to grow up in Philadelphia, and that might be some of you, or it might not be any of you, but I'm going to explain this to you if you don't know what it's like to grow up in Philadelphia. It's always assumed that your favorite football team is the Eagles. It's always assumed that your favorite baseball team is the Phillies, basketball team is the Sixers, and hockey team is the Flyers. But growing up, we would ask each other, what's your favorite team? And when we would ask each other that was a question about what your favorite out-of-town team was. That was what that question meant. Everybody knew above and beyond it was the Eagles. That's who you were. But when they asked you who your favorite team was, it was who your favorite out-of-town team was. And everybody had a favorite out-of-town team of the four majors. My favorite out-of-town football team was the Seahawks. My favorite out-of-town baseball team was the Milwaukee Brewers. My favorite out-of-town basketball team was the Golden State Warriors. And my favorite out-of-town hockey team was, for some reason, the New Jersey Devils and Kirk Muller. I don't know how it happened, but I gravitated towards Kurt Muller as a kid. I wrote a letter to him, a fan letter, when I was like 12. He sent me back an autographed picture. And for that reason and that reason alone, Kurt Muller was my favorite player. I don't know how it happened, but he was growing up. He was my favorite player, out of town guy, right? It's known, it's accepted, it's understood that my allegiance lies with Philadelphia. But you always were asked what your favorite out of town team was. And that's how we grew up. That's how we rolled in the city back then. And Kirk Muller was my guy. And as I said, on any database that you look at this card, you're looking at a $2 or $3 card, nothing major. But I think it's a pretty cool card. I think when Topps did hockey, they did a really good job with it. Kind of kept it towards that baseball thing, like kept a kind of baseball thing going. And here's the actual physical version of that card right here. It's pretty good shape, right? And it's got sharp edges, no fading, centered pretty damn good. But still only about a $2 or $3 card. But it forever has a place in my heart because it's Kirk Muller and it's my favorite out-of-town player when I was growing up. So there you go. I told you there's weird reasons why we do this segment, and they're not always for the money. There's intrinsic value too to this segment. And that is going to take me to the very end of the program, folks. I want to thank everybody for their attention tonight, their allegiance, their participation. Al, you know who you are. Everybody else who participated, thank you very much. It's been a blast. I want to tell you again and remind everybody again that we're just getting started here on the network tonight. Following me and following the Flyers game, it's the Clear the Ice program. Following that, the wraparound with Sal G featuring Pat Bernard tonight, the very special guest. So we're just getting things started on the network tonight. So don't go anywhere. Stay around and keep liking and subscribing and watching. We need your help. I had a great night. We talked a lot of things from the day of Philadelphia sports history of Nova losing to Old Dominion in the first round of the NCAA tournament back in '95. The Eagles signing a new player tonight, Azeez Ojulari, a potential project player that, again, is that the right move for the defending Super Bowl champions? Baseball, Phillies announced their starting opening day pitcher, and we did our of the night and our card. So we had fun. Until we talk again tomorrow, guys, I guys hope you guys the great rest of your night and even better tomorrow. I will see you, and make sure you're sticking by because we are just getting started tonight.